Hello. All right, I made it on. It has been a very long time since I have been on a live, and I happened to see something about TikTok not necessarily being around anymore, so I was like, I better get on and finish these lives because I still want to go through Proverbs, and I never got to go through Proverbs, guys. So, hello. Good night, I guess you could say. I just came home from the WB studio, and we did a studio tour there, which was incredible. I love going to the studio tours, and it was amazing. I had such an awesome time. Now, I normally do my lives in the morning, so hopefully those people, I put a post saying that I would do a live, but I didn't make it this morning. My dad came over and we kind of hung out, so I made it on the live right now. Hello, welcome in. Now, I have not done a live specifically for Proverbs. I've done through the Bible, I've done the Psalms, and we did, I believe, John last time. I think that's the one that I was reading last time. So I thought that I would come and do a couple of, I will probably be on for an hour. So depending on the Proverbs, some are longer, some are shorter. So I thought I'd read them. And I did want to read some of the background about Proverbs. But I've personally been going through Proverbs. I've been doing Proverbs. I think I'm on the 17th. So I try to do it. Every day. But I haven't done it every day. I've been using the Bible app, and it's been giving me a plan for the Proverbs every day. So if I miss a day, I just go back and I read that Proverbs as well. Some people skip it. I wanted to go through all the Proverbs, and I realized I haven't done it online. So I'm going to record these lives and hopefully put them on my YouTube and put them on my videos that are going to be like a playlist, so that way you guys can listen to the Proverbs just like I have for the Psalms. I don't know why I'm out of breath. It has been a while since I've been on a live. I feel like I'm holding my breath just talking. So hopefully I don't do that. Like, I don't want to pass out during these lives. Welcome in, everybody. Hello. My name is Vanessa, and I've been doing Bible reading lives for a long time, but I took a long break, and it's been a bumpy road, but I am on here again, and we'll see what happens. If you guys are not following me, I have all my social media links up. So if something happens, because I don't know what's happening to TikTok, I don't know what's going on, I'm like, I need to get on a live because what's gonna happen? So my plan is to, I don't know what the next, some people are saying lemonade, I don't know, but if anything, I'll probably move these lives to Instagram, because I can go live on Instagram. On YouTube, I cannot go live yet, so I think I can go live on a laptop, but I do this all on my phone, so I'm like, I don't know. So and I think that's the only platform. I think I'm on X, but I haven't been on there for quite a while. I think it might be linked to my Instagram, so if you do see me post, I think that's why. What else? I'm not sure what other platforms. There's so many platforms. I am not on Snapchat. I've never had a Snapchat. So if you do see me on Snapchat, that's not me. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read the kind of like introduction of Proverbs. I have a study Bible. If you guys are looking for a study Bible, I have the Nelson Women's Study Bible. So it does focus on things that are are women related. Sometimes when they reference, they'll say she and that sort of thing. It's not like when they're doing the commentary. Oh, thank you. So I really like this Bible. This is my study Bible. They do have one for men's and couples and I think teens, but I don't remember specifically. It is the New King James Version, and I really like it. It's very helpful. In the beginning, like, of each book of the Bible, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to breathe. I'm like, I am not breathing. It's been a long time. So I'm like, I think I'm just excited I'm excited to be back on these lives. But so, like, this one talks about the author. So the author of Proverbs, it says Solomon, king of Israel, was the son of David and Bathsheba. He was about 20 when he took the throne, and he reigned for 40 years. From 971 to 931 BC, about 3,000 proverbs and 1,005 songs are attributed to Solomon, which is so cool because I think the pastor just said that either on Wednesday or Sunday, and I wrote that down, and I'm like, oh, that's why I'm like, I needed to go through the Proverbs. Well, he's been quoting quite a few Proverbs. That he authored most of the book of Proverbs is appropriate since he was acclaimed the wisest person in his time. Nothing is known of Agur, to whom Proverbs 30 is ascribed, or Lemuel, whose words are found in Proverbs 31. Solomon's strengths were not on the battlefield, but in the realm of the mind. Meditation, organization, planning, and negotiation. Except for Moses, Solomon wrote more of the Old Testament than any other man. The writings of Songs of Solomon is assigned to his youth, Proverbs to his mature years, when he was at the height of his power, and Ecclesiastes to his later years as he reflected on his life and experience. Our Bible study on Sundays is actually going through Song of Solomon, so that's pretty cool. I think that's why Proverbs are being referenced a lot when it comes to our Sunday morning Bible studies. I'll read the themes on this one. It says, Proverbs refer often to the path and the way, indicating conduct and lifestyle, and providing both a goal and a means to reach that goal. The goal is successful living, and the route to the goal is the way of wisdom. Along the route, almost every facet of important human relationships is mentioned. The book of Proverbs is as relevant now as when it was written. So I'll go ahead and start. Again, I'll probably be on here for an hour, so we'll see how many Proverbs I go with that, and then either I'll do a late live tomorrow night or maybe an early live, because we have an event at our church and there's going to be like a guest artist, so I might still be able to do it around this time, depending on how fast I can get home. So I'll go ahead and read. Proverbs chapter 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase learning. A man of understanding will attain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of a wise and the riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head and chains about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait to shed blood. Let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like Sheol, and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all kinds of precious possessions. We shall find our houses with spoil. Cast in your lots among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. But they lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owners. Wisdom calls out loud outside. She raises her voice in the open squares. She cries out in the chief concourses, at the openings of the gates in the city. She speaks her words. How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn at my rebuke. Surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called and you refuse. I have stretched out my hand and no one regarded, because you disdain all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your terror comes. When your terror comes like a storm, and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. They will call on me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but they will not find me, because they hated knowledge. They did not choose the fear of the Lord. They will not have none of my counsel, and despise my every rebuke. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way, and be filled to the full with their own fancies. For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will dwell safely, and will be secure without fear of evil. So I have Jeremiah 11 on here. I wanted to look that up. I wrote it on the side, and now I can't remember where Jeremiah is. Ezekiel, Jeremiah. Ezekiel, Daniel. It's like every time I come on this live, I'm like, I forget where all, there it is. I forget where all the books are in the Bible. As a kid, I used to do Bible sword drills, which they would actually give us awards for the people who would get to the verse the fastest. So that's like a constant thing that I would do. And so Jeremiah 11, this talks about the broken covenant, so promise, obedience, and Jeremiah's life threatened. So I have it on verse 31 where it says, therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way, and be filled to the full with their own fancies. That's interesting. I must have read it or had it in a Bible study, and it reminded me. I don't see specifically what that one's for, but I'll read some of the commentary. My Bible comes with like little sections of commentary and even topical discussions in I'll show you, like these little things, and then these are all commentary on the bottom. So if you don't have like a commentary, which I do have a commentary, it's nice to have it all at one place. So it has like background, it has concordance, and it has the commentary, and you can look up the index. So it's nice because we're all learning, and the Bible it's something that like I continue to read and still learn. I can read it over and over and over again. And some of you guys have been on my lives where I've read through the whole Bible. And that's kind of my goal for next year. A little side note. If I can get on these lives, because I don't know what's happening to TikTok. I don't know the plan of that. If it's not TikTok, I'll try to see if I can do it on Instagram. So you guys are more than welcome to follow my lives on Instagram. I have not done them, but I've been slowly building up my following again and my views. It's pretty cool because I got a message saying that last month or this month I got like 10,000 views, and I'm like, oh, that's so crazy. Like, I have not really been on there in a while, and I've kind of just kind of slowed down on social media. So I was really thankful for that. But let me go ahead and read some of the commentary for chapter 1. Again, I'm going to try to split these up in smaller versions. So if you watch the YouTube version, it's going to be completely the whole live, me just talking, and some of our conversations. And if you want to watch just the reading, I'll have that on TikTok on a playlist. So hopefully I will make it through the end of the year before any sort of change on TikTok. Hi, Vekanite. Hi, Talia. Hi, Leah. Yeah, so hopefully TikTok doesn't do that, because I really enjoyed doing these lives. I just haven't done them in a while, and I wanted to continue to do them, but we will see. We'll see. Whatever happens, if anything, I'll just do it on Instagram. I think it's more fun to do it on here. I don't know if you have, I think you have to be following me to see the Instagram ones, but if you're on here, you don't necessarily have to follow me, because I get a lot of people that just kind of come through the lives. There is a plane going over my house. So on this one, it talks about wisdom, and it says wisdom in Hebrew is hokmah. It's found repeatedly in the book of Proverbs. In the Old Testament, this word was used to describe the skill of craftsmen, artists, and counselors. In the spiritual realm, a wise person lived life according to God's commandments, applying knowledge about God in a practical and successful way. Instruction suggests that wisdom is gained through some time and discipline. Prudence, or shrewdness, is a safeguard against being misled. Simple literally means to be wide open. A common designation in Proverbs suggests someone who is naive, gullible, and susceptible to good and bad influences. So whenever it talks about simple, because that one talked about, that's verse 4. Give prudence to the simple. For verse 7, it talks about fear. Fear in Proverbs is best understood as reverent obedience, expressed in a submissive spirit, rather than as terrifying dread. Fear of the Lord is the beginning point of becoming a woman of wisdom. Again, this is a women's study Bible, so it says women, but it doesn't necessarily mean just women. It's just a general term. A fool is morally rather than intellectually defective. That sounds so weird. Let's see. I guess I'll continue. There's quite a few here. And Proverbs, it's an interesting book, because it's not like the other books where it's like you take chunks of the passages and history. Proverbs can be even taken in like little couplets or line by line, because it says things that are just so meaningful, and in a way you can apply them to your life. Sorry, my kids are sick, so if you hear them coughing, they're probably going to be coughing throughout the whole life. Um, um, there's like little snippets that you get. A lot of people, when they read like the whole Bible, they will do Old Testament, New Testament, a Proverbs, and a Psalms. And normally when they do the Proverbs, it's a little bit shorter because there's just so much that you can get from the Proverbs. There is things in here that I still don't understand, and that's why a lot of people will maybe do a Proverbs every day. I have not gotten into that ritual of all the time reading the Proverbs. It's probably very helpful if I did, but there are times where if I don't necessarily have a book that I'm reading, or if I'm in between books, I will read a Proverbs for whatever number day it is. So today was the 17th. Sorry, I had to check. I'm like, wait, was it the 17th? Today is the 17th. So I read Proverbs 17, and that's specifically because I wanted to read through the Proverbs because there's 31 Proverbs. So it's nice when you have a month that is 31 days. It shouldn't stop you from reading an extra proverb though. So if you have a month that has 30 days or 28 days, Proverbs are they're just so necessary. Wisdom is so necessary. I have been very fascinated by wisdom because wisdom, I think I heard it once, it's like the application of knowledge. And me and my kids were talking about common sense today. And I don't know what we were saying, but we were joking around. I was like, yeah, like you have to like develop common sense, you know? And even then, people don't necessarily have common sense anymore. It's not necessarily common. But it was so funny that we were talking about that common sense. But wisdom goes far beyond common sense, I would think. It is such a need in our lives, in our society, in our country. Without wisdom, like I love the story of King Solomon, and when he has to decide, it's a popular story, so if you don't know it, please let me know in the comments that you don't know it, and I'll share the whole story. But he had to decide between two women whose baby was theirs, because one claimed that theirs had passed away in the night, or they had rolled over her baby and they're claiming that that's her baby and who's this baby. And it's kind of been in like movies, or they've kind of referenced in different maybe TV shows or something. But he decides to cut the baby in two, and one lady is like, oh, okay. And he's like, cut in two and give it one to each, so they each get a piece. And the one lady's like, no, like just give it to her. She can have the baby. And Solomon shows his wisdom, saying that's the mother. The mother is the one that would rather that her child live than to be cut in two. And so I think that has always been a very fascinating story, because it would be a shocking story. You know, if you're there and someone, a judge or someone, dealt with you in that way, that is kind of unthinkable. It's something that you would not think of, but the idea that he knew how to handle that situation, you know, it only came from God. And people came from all over to learn from Solomon. And Solomon was not a perfect person. Just because he had so much wisdom did not mean that he did everything right. I think sometimes we gain a lot of wisdom by doing all the wrong things. I know I gain a lot of stuff by doing the wrong things, and I realized I shouldn't have done it that way. And I, sometimes people will come up and ask for counsel, and I'm like, well, this is what I did. Don't do that because it was not a good idea. And it can kind of seem hypocritical. It can kind of seem like this, like, well, you didn't do that. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you don't do that, because I did that. And it's just, learning by experience. And the Lord is so amazing to give us salvation because we are wretched beings. Sometimes I hear people speak so much about hypocrites. That has been something that has been a lot. A lot of people have been coming up to me and talking about hypocrites. And sometimes I feel like a hypocrite. Sometimes I feel like I don't do everything right. I have never done everything right, but the Lord forgives me. And I think we can put this burden on people to be perfect. We can put this burden on Christians to be sinless, but we're a work in progress, and there are different maturity levels, and it doesn't depend on your age. You can be 60 years old and be a brand new Christian and have to walk that walk, or you can be 30 years old, grown up, knowing the word, knowing what the Lord has done in your life and receiving it. Because that's the thing too. I think we can know the word and not understand the depth of it. We can read, like, I feel like there were many years that I felt like I was like a baby Christian. Like, even though I can read it, the application just wasn't sticking to me. And there are pivotal moments in our lives that will just, we're like, oh, like the aha moments, I guess you could say. We're like, I get it. That makes sense. I understand this passage. This deals with my life. This deals with this situation. It's like, I get it. And I love how patient the Lord is. And that's how we have to be with other people who we may see as hypocrites, or we may see as maybe backsliders, maybe people that are still growing in their faith, because I know how much I am forgiven. And when you know how much you are forgiven, the bar changes. I don't set everybody up here anymore, because I'm like, wait a minute, like, or I don't set everybody down here, or what, putting myself up, because I know my heart, I know my thoughts, I know my actions, I know the deep dark secrets that only the Lord knows. And it is a dying to self every day. Now, there are times where we have to deal with sin according to how the Lord, like when you have someone that is like deliberate in sin, and you've gone to them and you've talked to them and you've brought the elders in, and then there's a point where we have to step back as Christians. We cannot associate with them anymore, because I think they're right in their own mind. But I think we put such a burden on people to be perfect, and we don't love people enough. Ultimately, we don't love them enough. And God loves us so much. How can we not love? And it's it's hard to understand. It's hard to love, because love is an action, and it's not just words. It's sacrificial. It's something that it is a daily thing. Sometimes we have to be in a constant battle of being loving to others. And some people, and it sounds funny, some people need more love than others. And I don't know how to express that completely, but there's just sometimes, I think of like maybe bullies or class bullies or people that are just so mean. There's something that created them that way. Again, we have free will, we have choice, we make our decisions. But whenever like my kids deal with a bully or they deal with someone that's mean, I try to let them know that they get to be Christ to that person. They get to be joy to that person. If you have someone that's in your life that is constantly bringing you down, they're maybe holding by a thread, and you can be that thread. You can be that person that pulls them out of their sorrow, their pain, their sin, because we can't do that alone. God has given us other people. He's given us fellowship. He's given us community, and we cannot isolate because we will burn out. We can't do it on our own, and we're not made that way. Now, there are times that we have seasons of separation. We have seasons of being still and coming to God and depending on God, because we could use people in a way that is, we're solely dependent on them and we're no longer dependent on God. And so there has to be that balance to where, God is using other people to help us, but we are going to God first. I think there was times in my life where I would go reach out for counsel, and I was going to them, venting and all this stuff, but it wasn't like I wasn't going to God first. And then there was times where I was only going to God and I was feeling isolated. And so finding that balance is very important. Finding those mentors and finding those people that walk beside you and can help you and have done it before, and they can lift you up and tell you it's going to be hard, but it's going to be okay. I think that is such a comfort, especially when you find people that, the Lord puts people in your life, at least in my life. He's put people in my life that have gone before me, that have done, the grunt work, that have done, again, like, they went through the situation, but they weren't with the Lord. They weren't being helped by the Lord, and this is all the wrong things they did. And they're like, don't do this because I did that. And it's like, oh, cool. Okay. It's nice. I tend to pray that I learned by others' examples, so I don't have to go through it myself. And if I do have to go through it myself, I pray to learn it the first time, because sometimes we don't learn our lesson and we will go into cycles, and He will just be like, okay, well, we're going to refine you, and we will bring this up over and over and over again until you realize what you're doing wrong. And so I always pray, okay, Lord, like, this trial, like, I know it's shaping me. I know it's going to grow me. Help me learn my lesson the first time, because I do not want to do it again. And lately he's pretty good at that, so I'm thankful. I think I'm just going to move on to the next chapter. Proverbs chapter 2. My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the path of justice and preserves the ways of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path. When wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you. Understanding will keep you. He'll deliver you from the way of evil, from the man who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil and delight in the perversity of the wicked, whose ways are crooked and who are devious in their paths, to deliver you from the immoral woman, from the seductress who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth, and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house leads down to death, and her path to the dead. None who go to her return, nor do they regain the path of life. So you may walk in the way of goodness, and to keep the path of the righteousness. For the upright will dwell in the land, and blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfruitful will be uprooted from it. So I'll go ahead and read the commentary for that one. That one is titled "The Value of Wisdom." Single-hearted devotion to discovering and doing what is right is implied in the verbs receive, treasure, incline, apply, cry out, lift up, seek, and search. The three ifs in these verses show the importance of our choices. We are instructed to do our part in seeking wisdom in order to reap the wonderful promised results. God grants wisdom as a gift to those who truly seek it, and He bestows understanding and knowledge. The heart was the seat of the intellect and of the life itself in Hebrew thought. Not only must the ear be inclined to wisdom, but the heart, inclusive of the mind in Hebrew thought, must diligently seek to understand wisdom. Obedience is a lifelong endeavor. I like that. Obedience is a lifelong endeavor. It is very hard. Whenever I think of worship, I always think about obedience, because we tend to think that worship is just singing and praising God, but worship is living a life of obedience, because when you worship something, you do everything for it, you know. I mean, how many times do you see people worshiping other people, and they do everything? They are buying all their merch, their music or movies or plays. They're obsessing. They're just continually talking about them. You can really learn a lot about what is truly important to people by what they talk about, by what they share, what they even what they buy, what they're expressed. So as Christians, we want to make sure that we are talking about God. We're talking about His amazing grace, His goodness. He's been showing me a lot about His goodness, and just holding on to that. Because sometimes we forget to count our blessings, and we tend to be like, well, I didn't get this prayer. He didn't answer this prayer in the way that I wanted Him to. He didn't give me this. I asked for this and He didn't give me this. And it's this constant like genie mentality. But when we look at what He actually gave us, it's quite amazing. I remember writing in I have this count your blessing, kind of like a bowl, and it came with, someone gave it to me, and it came with these little cards, and I started to write the cards, and I was like, okay, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, and then I tried to write another card, and I realized I was not going to have enough paper. I was not going to be able to write fast enough. I wasn't going to be able to, it was this like, it started off super slow. We're like, oh, I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for salvation, I'm thankful for my home, I'm thankful for my friends, and then it was just like air, my arms, my legs, like my nose, like it started to get in this spiral of like, whoa, I do have a lot, even if it's not like material stuff. I mean just the abilities that I have, walking, having a car, driving somewhere, or even just the health. I have a lot of friends that are sick or going through things, or even my parents. I have my parents. It's this amazing list, and we can get caught up in, oh, he didn't give me this, he didn't answer this prayer, or I didn't find my spouse, or I didn't find a good friendship, or I didn't find a church that was everything I needed. It's like it was this, even the gifts that we can bring to people, the abilities and talents that maybe others don't have and we have. There's so much to be thankful for, and it can be kind of hard. This is a season that a lot of people have lost. A lot of people have loved ones that are not around. They may even have jobs that they have lost. Like it becomes a very I feel like Christmas, I've learned a lot about this season. There was a time where I was watching today I was watching this movie called was it Saving Christmas? But it was a movie that talked about Christmas, and it was by Kirk Cameron, and he was talking to his brother-in-law about the true meaning of Christmas, even the traditions and where they came from, because there was a time, I think it was right when that movie came out too, and I was like, oh, this is perfect timing, where I was like, why are we buying all these gifts for people? Why are my kids so spoiled? Why, why are these people, they don't get to celebrate? Why are we celebrating? And it was this constant battle in my head where it's like, we're not doing Christmas. And then, some people, it's like, it's not Jesus's birthday, it's commercialized, it's a pagan holiday, and there's all these different things. But that was hard. I had one good year that I was just like, I was done. I was done with just the Christmas that was created. But I didn't get to look at the joy, that unspeakable joy, that joy of Christ being born. And I wasn't like against Christmas. I was just having this hard time of, why are we doing all this? It just didn't make sense to me. Like I'm like, we're not celebrating who we're supposed to be celebrating, and I didn't know what that looked like. So I think a lot of people have different traditions. A lot of people have different views. We tend to just buy the gifts for like the kids, and like my parents. Sometimes they'll do like a white elephant game, and there's different traditions. But I know when life changes, and there are deaths or just big life events that happen, it can be very difficult to celebrate. It can be very, it can be a time of grief. And so I tried to remember that. I think the last couple years it's been very prevalent, and it's been very hard to celebrate. And I think our job as Christians is to share Christ, share joy, share love, share a peace that doesn't make sense to anybody else, because it comes from the Lord. It surpasses any understanding. And that's what we can give to people this year, is this love that's so unconditional. And I don't mean you have to give gifts to everybody, but just being there for people, checking on people, getting past your own struggles, because you struggle. We all struggle. it is a very difficult time. But the moment you step out of your bubble and you reach out to someone else's, it is, it's something that it changes your perspective. And now they don't have to be worse off than you. They don't have to be, it doesn't have to be something, like that. But when we are serving other people, when we're reaching out, we're praying for somebody that's not ourselves, which I tend to pray for myself, our problems seem smaller. Our issues become something that is given to the Lord and we don't take back. And that's an Instagram post I recently saw. Hopefully I'll find it. I have it saved. But it talked about sometimes it's hard to pray. It's hard to pray when we're in a difficult situation because we don't want to think about it. But we pray, we give it to the Lord, and we give it to Him. We don't take it back. We give it to Him and say, okay, I have given this to you. That doesn't mean you have to stop praying. Because sometimes, it still comes up and we still need to give it back to the Lord. But we just constantly okay, this is my weight. I can't carry it. You have to take it. So I was driving today from Burbank. And I was just like, Lord, like it feels so heavy. I woke up this morning with this weight on me. And like literally it felt like somebody was sitting on top of me. And I woke up and it was in my dream. It's so weird. It was one of those like, I don't know if they call like Matrix things where you wake up and it's like that same thing. Like I just felt like something was on top of me. And I was like, Lord, I can't carry this. I cannot carry this. You have to take this because I don't want it. And He did. Like He lightened my load. And I can't explain exactly what it was because I don't know. I just know I was like, Lord, you just have to take it. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know what it is. I just like, I felt this burden. And sometimes we can only see our own burden. And when He gives us something, like sometimes I'll get a pain. I think the other day I had a shoulder pain. I was like, oh my goodness, like my shoulder hurts. And I was like, oh, so-and-so has a hurt shoulder, so I'll pray for them. Or I had a pain in, I don't know, I think I had a headache or something. I'm like, so-and-so has been having migraines and I've been praying for them. And so the Lord has been like reminding me, okay, like you may have this like right now, like this like 5-minute like headache, but this person is dealing with chronic migraines. Or you may have this like you slept wrong on your arm, and this person is dealing with like a messed up like rotator cuff. Like it's been very interesting of taking my eyes off myself and really looking and praying and praying for other people in a way that I'm just reminded of. Or when you think of somebody, especially in this time, please reach out to people. Please reach out to people. I've had people where it's like they're on my heart, and I feel so bad when I don't reach out to them. And then they're like telling me about their struggles. I'm like, oh, I was thinking of them, and I didn't reach out. I didn't text them. I didn't, I may have prayed for them, but I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's so nice when people are like, I thought of you, and then they're praying for you, or they text you and like, I'm thinking of you. I actually had that someone this morning. They're like, I got a text message from you from 3:00 in the morning, and it didn't have anything. She goes, I think it was my phone, but can I pray for you? And I was like, that's so cool. And I was like, that's amazing how that can be used. It was the weirdest thing because I didn't have it on my phone. And she was like, yeah, I got a text message at 3:00 in the morning. She even like screenshot it. I was like, that's so weird. She was like, I'm just taking it as the Lord told me to pray for you. And I was like, that's so cool. Like when those things happen and people are reaching out, like it's such a, we're meant for that community. We're meant to reach out to other people. We're meant to allow others in our lives. And it can be hard because we get burned. We get people in our lives that are just flaky people, or people are, in and out of your lives. But I really do think that there's a purpose in that. There's a purpose in those people in your life, those people that you're just meant to pray for. You may not be able to depend on them, and they may not be like your closest friends, but those people may not have other people that are going to pray for them. They may not have anybody that is tolerating what you're tolerating. And I don't mean like abuse or anything like that, but I just mean like petty things or annoying things. Sometimes we just got to get past ourselves, and maybe this person talks too much and you're just like, oh my goodness, they're so draining. What if they have no one to talk to? What if they have nobody to, what if everybody is treating them like they don't matter? You can be that one person who takes the time and listens. And it can be, honestly, it can be life or death. I think that there's an epidemic of depression and anxiety and people that are just giving up. And you can be that one person that pulls them out of the water. And it's very sobering when you think of it that way, when you think of people as souls, because sometimes we are so frustrated with people, we're so over people, we're so tired of this sad person or this angry person or this crazy person but we don't know what they're going through. We don't know the depths of their soul. They're only giving us a glimpse, and they're only giving us what they want us to see. But there could be such a pain in them that we can just pull them out. I'm getting emotional. So let's just continue reading. It's a crazy time right now, guys. It is. The enemy is working so hard, and we see it, and there's a lot of sickness. There's a lot of sickness around, and a lot of people, they're losing loved ones left and right. And you might have that one friend that snaps, and you're just like, oh my goodness, why are they snapping? And they could have lost a loved one. They could have lost their job. There's just so many things that we forget. We forget why people, we forget people have feelings. We forget people that have bad days, and we can be that light. We can be that joy. So I'll go ahead and continue. I think I'm only going to read one more chapter because it's getting close to my hour. Proverbs chapter 3. My son, do not forget my law, but let your heart keep my commands, for length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablets of your heart. And so find favor and high esteem in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. Honor the Lord with your possessions and with the firstfruits of all your increase. So your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will overflow with new wine. My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor detest his correction. For whom the Lord loves, he corrects, just as a father the son in whom he delights. Happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gains understanding, for her seeds are better than the profits of silver, and her gain than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you may desire cannot compare with her. Length of days is in her right hand, and her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy are all who retain her. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth, by understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths were broken up, and clouds dropped down the dew. My son, let not depart from your eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, so they will be life to your soul, and grace to your neck. Then you will walk safely in your way, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of such terror, nor trouble from the wicked when it comes, for the Lord will be your confidence, and will keep your foot from being caught. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do so. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come back, and tomorrow I will give it, when you have it with you. Do not devise evil against your neighbor, for he dwells by you for safety's sake. Do not strive with a man without cause, if he has done you no harm. Do not envy the oppressor, and choose none of his ways, for the perverse person is an abomination to the Lord, but his secret counsel is with the upright. The curse of the Lord is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the just. Surely he scorns the scornful, but gives grace to the humble. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the legacy of fools. I like verse 27 a lot, because sometimes we think we have to give people like what they deserve, or we have to like I don't know how to explain exactly. Let me read the verse again. It says, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do so. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come back, and tomorrow I will give it, when you have it with you. Those two verses are I like it because it's just, I'm trying to find the right words for it, because it's such like a, I don't know, I feel like nowadays people don't necessarily go out of their way and do things. People don't say thank you. People don't, they expect so much. I'm just going to read the commentary because I can't find the right words. And I'm like, maybe it's just meant for me. I'm like, maybe that's just for me to hold on to. It says right here on the commentary, the practical benefits of wisdom include a lack of anxiety, which brings peace to the soul, as well as vigorous physical health. And then it says, direct. In Hebrew, it was yashar, literally, to make smooth, straight, right. Includes the idea of removing obstacles that are in our way. God will straighten the stressful paths. He does not say when or how. He just promises that he will. And when it talks about verses 1 through 12, it says, this passage lists command in odd numbers verses and blessings that come from obedience in the even number verses. Wisdom and obedience bring longevity and exemplary reputation, God's guidance, physical well-being, prosperity, and discipline. 3 actions are required on our part. Trust God and lean not to our own understanding, and acknowledge his leadership. God will respond with his action, which is to direct. And then it says for verses 27, oh, thank you for the hand hearts. And that's so nice. Thank you, Pedroski. Let's go. Is that how you spell your name? Or is that just like phonetically spelled? For verses 27 to 35, it says, 5 principles concerning relationship with others, each beginning with the words do not, appear in this passage. These principles are specific examples of what it means to acknowledge God in everything. The Lord's secret counsel, literally confidential, intimate speech, is strong motivation for maintaining a distance from the wicked. Thank you for the follow. Is it Wally Tucker? Or Whale Tucker? I have a lot of these verses underlined in this particular chapter. Definitely, I think a lot of people know the verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. It's a very popular verse. But also verse 11 and 12. I think this is a great verse for somebody that feels like they're being punished or they're just dealing with the consequences of their sin. Because sometimes we don't really recognize that, even though we know that was my fault, But in verse 11 and 12, it says, My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor detest his correction. For whom the Lord loves, he corrects, just as a father, the son in whom he delights. And I remember hearing a story about, I think it was kids that got in trouble, and I think a son got in trouble. And he's like, well, they did it. And he's like, well, they're not my son. And it's this idea that the discipline, the Lord is disciplining us so we become more like him. He's not just punishing us for no reason. He's not doing it because he likes to do it or anything like that or whatever, He actually is doing it for a reason. He wants to make us more like him. When you are not a child of God, the Lord is not going to chasten you in this sort of way. There will be consequences for sin, and sometimes those consequences are going to be later in eternity. But if you say you're a Christian and you decide, well, I'm going to continue in my sin, I'm going to keep sinning, the Lord will give you those opportunities to, get out of your sin. He will give those opportunities where you're going to get caught here and there. There will be a point where you have now decided your sin over God, and the Lord will take his hand off of them, and he will not correct them anymore because they have rejected his correction. They rejected, because we're going to sin. We're going to sin until we get to be in our perfect body. It doesn't give us permission to sin. It's just, that's what's going to happen, and hopefully day by day, month by month, year by year, we sin less, or we don't deal with the same sins. There may be other things in our lives that need refining, but we're not in this constant state of sin. We've done the work. We've had that accountability partner. We've had the reading of the word, the fellowship, the community, the repentance. But there's going to be a time where the Lord will take his hand off of somebody. He took his hand off of Saul. He allowed Saul to be king. But there was a point where the Lord wasn't with him. Like, he just it's like, okay, you're going to do your own thing. And that's a scary place to be. I think as a Christian more than like a non-Christian. But if you're a Christian and the Lord has taken his hand off you and you're no longer a Christian anymore, that's scary. That is a dangerous place to be. And it only takes one step to go back. It only takes that repentance, that full 180 to be like, no, I am not going to deal with this anymore. I'm going to turn from my ways. I'm going to repent. I'm going to follow Christ with everything I can. I'm not going to be perfect. And I'm so thankful the Lord doesn't expect us to be perfect. But He makes us holy. He makes us white as snow. And we just live for Him. I also liked verse 24. And it says, when you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down and your sleep will be sweet. I feel like I should write this in like my bedroom somewhere. I think it's just such a comforting thing. You know, I think along with when earlier we talked about verse 2 when it says the length of days is long and peace they will add to you. You know, it's just this it's just this reminder. God gives us peace. We have peace in Him. Verse 34, it says, surely He scorns the scornful, but He gives grace to the humble. Grace to the humble. I think that was one of the biggest things that the Pharisees could not grasp is humility. Because they were self-righteous. And when we're self-righteous, guys, it like bleeds out. When people are just saying, basically they do everything right, or they've learned everything. And sometimes we say that when we're judging other people. Not that we're not allowed to judge, because I think there's a point where the Lord, keeps us accountable to each other. But sometimes we're just bagging on people. This person's this and this person's that. And it's like, what have you done? Look at your heart. Look at all the sin that you have. Not saying that they aren't meant to change. But man, look inside the depths of your soul. It is so, our hearts are desperately wicked. And I think, when they talk about the plank and the speck, sometimes we're just looking at these specks in people's eyes. But I think those specks tend to reflect our issues. Our big things that we're struggling with. Because it's like, how can you look in your brother's eye for a speck and you have a plank? How are we looking at this person and we're like, man, this person gossips all the time. They're continually gossiping, all that. And then the person talking is the gossiper. It's just like, I've learned when I complain about people, the most things that I complain about, I feel like it's something in my heart. It reveals something in my heart. I'm like, ooh, I'm dealing with that. Or, like, man, like, this person is, like, really bothering me in this way. And I'm like, ooh, I'm dealing with that. And so having that reflection, not saying that we shouldn't help them, because sometimes, if you, you have to look in yourself and you have to look at, what am I doing wrong? If I'm going to address a sin in somebody's life, I better have, a hold on that sin in my life. If I am going to address somebody for lying, I better be an honest person. I better work in my heart, because then they're going to be like, well, you lied too. Like, will you do that too? And we need to set that example. And then we can go to them and then we can share with them, well, this is what the Bible says. This is what we should do. And even giving that representation. I'm not perfect. I struggle on this too. So when I say it, I'm saying it for you and I'm saying it for me, because I'm not perfect and I don't expect perfection. But you know what? we are supposed to help each other. We are supposed to guide each other. Well, again, we're not doing this alone, guys. We cannot do this alone. We need help from other people, and we need that grace from other people, and we need that love, but we do need that correction too. So if you feel like, oh, I can't tell this person something because I'm dealing with that too, look in your heart, repent, ask for that forgiveness, and be open with that person, saying like, hey, like, I'm struggling with this, and I notice you're struggling with this too. Like, how can we work together and be accountable to each other? Because you don't want to be a hypocrite. But if you're struggling, you're struggling, and the Lord's working in you, and you're moving forward, and you're moving in the right direction, but you're not perfect. And, I know there's sometimes I don't want to address people's sin because I'm like, I struggle with that. How can I tell that person, don't do that? The Bible says don't do that, when I can't deal with that in my life. And sometimes it's just that honesty that, like, hey, like, I struggle with that too. Like, we should find ways to keep each other accountable, to help each other, not to bash on each other, not to put each other down, not to be self-righteous or anything like that, but just know that we're all coming to God with sins. We're all sinners, and we need a Savior, and we just want to help each other. So I have talked enough tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a lot of people on my live, and I'm just so happy that you guys joined. I am going to shoot for tomorrow to do a live. I don't know if I'm going to do it in the morning or at night, but if you put the notification, I think it's here. I don't know if it's here or here, but there's a notification. It'll tell you when I'm going live. I prefer when I go at night, but we'll see. I might have more time in the morning. But thank you so much for joining. I will go ahead and post these lives, and I will see you tomorrow.